7 Days to Die. It's a game I'm, rather fond of. I've put hundreds of hours into the old legacy version, if you want to call it, that came out on PS4. And then, of course, it was, stopped being sold, and we had to wait for the new version that came out, 2 years ago now, I think 2024. But I'm also put hundreds of hours into that game, both on PC and on PlayStation, because 7 Days to Die is one of those survival games that's just very fun. Even with, the change from a survival game into like a forced sort of RPG with level up systems and, every location being a dungeon, it's still really fun. I like the game, I like the base building, I like the zombie fight, and I like the progression system of getting, your basic pipe guns all the way to like military weapons. I just like the game. I think it's really, really good. But could it work onto an N64 cartridge? I mean, that's the whole point of the series. Could it fit there? I mean, looking at this game, there's absolutely no way. It's just too big. And then even the PS4 Legacy version is still too big. I mean, look at this. I know the graphics might be a downgrade, but it still has so many items, so much stuff to do. But what if we go even further back? What if we use one of like the earlier alpha versions, as the Legacy console version is stuck between Alpha 15 and 16, I believe. What if we use like Alpha 4? Yeah, it took me a while to finally get this, access to this version of 7 Days to Die, but look at it. It's here. It's cool. It's one of the oldest versions I could get access to that wouldn't crash. And so, could this port of 7 Days to Die, if it was back, in the late 90s, very, 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 very early 2000s, could it fit onto an N64 cartridge? That's what we're going to talk about today. Everything's way different. Instead of maps being sometimes, randomly generated or whatever, the map is perfectly generated, the exact same map every single time, for example. Or, the crafting system's entirely different. Instead of just needing materials and then you find it on, like, all the different menus and whatnot. It's like Minecraft. You have to memorize the crafting grid, memorize the crafting recipes to be able to craft what you want. Everything's different, you don't punch wood on trees to just get given wood and then it breaks. You just actually break it like Minecraft to get individual pieces. So yeah, this is much different. It's much smaller. So let's talk about 7 Days to Die, this early version, and can it fit onto an N64 cartridge? So multiple sources said that Alpha 4 must have been around 2 to 3 gigabytes of, space there. My own copy says 1.6 gigabytes, which is just out the range of the 1.4 or 1.5 that Resident Evil 2 was when it was ported to the N64. So I would say still pretty much possible, just a little bit outside that range we look at. But, that means we have a lot of stuff to hopefully take out to, make this game playable. And a lot of stuff to change as well. Now, starting off, I think we need to come up with the controller, how it's going to lay out. So let's quickly, boom, throw this up on the screen here. And here's how it's going to work. You are going to use the D-pad on the left prawn to go ahead and move, and the joystick will move the camera. That way, if you just hold forward and move your camera, no matter what, you're still going to be able to go to that 360 degrees. Obviously, you can't move 360 degrees. It's really 8 directions. It's just the way your camera's looking you're going to move. So I guess technically still 360 degrees, but I think that's fine. The trigger on the back is going to be your brake button for, breaking blocks or whatever. But if you have, say, a block in your hand and you want to place it down, you still use the Z button. Only if you have like a block in your hand. But breaking stuff is if you have like a tool in your hand or your fist in your hand or something. That'll be breaking stuff. Placing stuff again, just have a box or a block or whatever in your hand there. Next, to open stuff like say the inventory or whatever, you just gotta press A on stuff. So if you go to a fridge or to go to a safe or something, just press A. It'll open it up there. B will be the way to exit. The start button will of course pause the game, bringing you back to the main menu, which I'll talk about in a second here. And then to open up the crafting recipe, it'll be the C buttons. You have, the 4 C buttons. Just press up on the D-pad. That'll go ahead and open that up there. And then also to toggle crouch, it'll be down on the D-pad or the C-pad. So that way that'll toggle your crouch. Up will open the inventory. And then to actually toggle the sprint, because I don't think it should be, kind of hold. I think to toggle sprint, because we do have a stamina bar there in the bottom left. You have water, health, stamina, food, all that good stuff. Just tap left on that C-pad there, and that'll toggle your sprint on and off to run or not run, sort of thing. But that'll how the controller will map out there. For the main menu, it would be very simple as start game. I don't think there should be any difficulty considering there's just one map. The days should just be 20-minute days, 10-minute nights. It'll be the exact same across all board. There will be a settings. You have start game, you have settings. When you start your game, there should only be one file per cartridge because it is a sandbox style game that is a lot bigger than the Minecraft we've currently talked about in the past. Check that out in the link in the description below. But Regardless, I don't think it should be multiple files. So if you want to start a new game, once you start a new game and then you save by exiting, going back to the main menu, it's just start game, new game if you want to overwrite, that game you have currently, and then the options, which will be stuff like the audio or whatever. But that'll be the main menu. Let's move on to what we should be taking out now. Now, let's first look at the crafting recipes. And one thing is, I watched, I'll put a link to the description here, a bunch of different videos on all the crafting recipes, along with, my own gameplay, playing the game, of course, of, again, just a ton of recipes that were in this game, and there seems to be just over 100, at least according to this channel. Again, I didn't play for very long. I only played for about an hour, and trying to get all the crafting recipes just based off memory that I don't have or don't have access to, so having to, go through these old videos, that was kind of the best thing I could do, because I don't know the crafting recipes, putting random stuff in, all that stuff. So yeah, I came to just over 100. I'm going to say between 100 and 120 there is probably the correct range. Now, moving forward, what do we take out? Well, there's a lot of different wood types in this game. There's stuff like log cabin wood, there's plank wood, there's rich wood, there's old wood, all these different kinds of wood that I think we can take out. Rich wood is just to give it like a nice red texture to build certain things, make stuff look nice. Use that by combining it with the red flowers. So I think if we just take out that, rich wood, that takes out all the stuff made with rich wood, like the stairs and whatnot, or the desk, or certain recipes that come from that, and its recipe itself. Similar to, I think we should have to take out the log cabin wood. It's just like stronger wood and it looks better. Again, I think we can take that out and the stuff that comes with that. I then also think we can take out certain wooden structure elements. So instead of there's the wooden poles, I think we can remove those. The wooden pole from just the basic wood. And well, I know, maybe it would be best to just keep in one kind of wood, just being the basic wood you get from, normal trees. I think keeping the old wood that you get from the burnt forest biome, which is a very small biome in this game, but the burnt wood that you get, I think keeping that is fine. It only has very few recipes like old wood or old plywood or whatever, and it gives it a nice kind of feel when you're in that biome. And I think taking it out, well, again, it's only really 3 items. I don't think taking it out is that big of a deal, so I think it's fine to keep it there. Next, what I think we should be taking out is some of the zombie variants. There are actually a lot of zombies in Alpha 4. I didn't realize there was that many, so let's take out a couple of those. You have stuff like just the regular zombies, the male and female variants. You have like the bigger, fatter zombies that are kind of like bloaters and, can take a little bit more hits. You have the spider or crawler zombies that can crawl and look very funky. You have the zombie dogs. And then you also have the kind of like, I believe, the honey bees. Before there were the birds, there used to actually be bees that would fly and kind of spit stuff at you. So we have all these different kinds. And I'm not going to lie, I think out of all of them, I think we can keep the zombie dogs, I think we can keep the zombie bees, and obviously we have to keep the regular zombies. I think all of that stuff can be kept because it, adds into that flavor of, again, you have a dog that's a little bit more fast and agile, you have the normal regular zombies, and then of course you have the bees that are kind of flying. But the fat zombies, they're just bigger, bulkier zombies, but considering they just spawn in, numerous numbers, the regular zombies, I think we can take out the fatter ones, the little bloaters there, kind of like the ones with the Hawaiian shirts, as we just saw there. Or also, I think we can take out these spider zombies. Yeah, they're unique, and they can crawl through certain smaller gaps and whatnot. I think they're just very, it's just one variant compared to different clothing and whatnot. They just look the same. I think we can take those out. Similarly, I think we'd also take out the crawler zombies. They're zombies that are specifically just kind of crawling on the floor, not on all fours, kind of like army crawling. Again, I think we can take those out and just leave it with the 3 types. Again, the dogs, just the regular male and female zombie variants. They're just the shamblers, and then of course they run during the night. And then the bees, because I think that's just more unique and it adds into that like air kind of combat style. Moving forward, there are several guns in the game. You have the hunting rifle, you have the shotgun, you have the pistol, you have the SMG, and all of these guns combined, I think we can actually take out one single gun. And I think the gun I want to take out is the hunting rifle. It just isn't good for a game like this, considering you have to constantly reload. It can only hold 1 round. And so for that reason, I think just taking it out, considering the pistols hold more, yeah, it does a lot of damage for that 1 round. But still, again, the pistol holds a lot more, the SMG holds a lot more, the shotgun does just as much damage and can hold more. So I think for that reason, we can just take out the hunting rifle, and it's, ammo that goes with it there. Moving on. Besides that there, so we took out that. There's also the combat knife. Now, you can get access to weapons like the pickaxe, the, barbed club, or the regular wooden club, or the fire axe, or a bunch of different melee weapons. And when you hunt animals in this game, unlike, in newer versions of 7 Days to Die, when you actually, go ahead and hunt an animal, you just loot its body to get the meat. You don't have to, you use a knife to get meat out of it. You just go ahead and open its inventory. It'll have a random amount of meat on it. So that way, I think we just cut out the knife, because the knife is just, again, another melee weapon that we don't need. You could use your metal for something else. So you could use it for a fire axe. You could use it for a pickaxe, stuff that does just as good damage. Obviously, they attack a little bit slower than the knife, but I just don't think we need the knife in the game. I think that's just an item we can take out. Obviously, a bunch of random items in certain categories, firearms, melee weapons, blocks, stuff like that. We just need to take out a whole bunch of that stuff to save up on the space. And then finally, looking at the map here. So with the map here, it's clear we got a couple biomes. We have the burnt forest, which is that middle purple strip. We have the desert, the bottom right. We have the wasteland, bottom left. And we have the main forest, that whole green part there. I think we can shrink the forest bit a little bit to about that middle center lake. Just cutting it off right there at the bottom of the lake. That's where that would cut off, so it just clears a little bit of stuff. I think we just remove the wasteland entirely and instead make the bottom half of the map half desert and half burnt forest. Because like I said, the burnt forest is pretty simple. It's just got a lot of the nice cool wood that there's only 3 recipes there. And there's no unique zombies or anything there. And of course, this older version. And the desert is actually where you get most of your medicine items, like, your aloe or your yucca for, like, certain drinks or food or whatever. So I think we keep, again, kind of like the same size strip as, I would say, the desert section, that bottom right corner. And instead, again, just looking at this map, you just take, half of it. The bottom bit is the desert. The other half is the burnt forest, that same kind of width, and then the whole top bit up to that lake is just forest, and there's nothing, obviously you can, I could zoom out more, you can definitely see there's more. But if we just keep it this size, it definitely shrinks the map substantially to hopefully save on space a lot, because there are actually further biomes further out there if I were to zoom out. But again, if we just look at this, I think this is just perfect. The map already is actually pretty big for an older version like this. Keeping it this size would be substantial. And even if this still is not enough, there's still stuff we could take out of the game. For example, as I showed earlier through the deer, you can get bones. You can turn those into bone knives for melee weapons. We don't need them. You can use the bones as a melee weapon. We don't need them. There's certain metal items you can build for, like, structures and whatnot. There's still a lot of wood and cobblestone and other items that we can build for, like, defenses and stuff. We don't need them. There's, like, TNT you can use to blow stuff up. We don't necessarily need that. There's mines as traps already. We don't really need TNT that you can throw as a weapon. There's a lot of stuff we could still cut out, but I think we went over the basics again. A couple wood types, a lot of the map, a bunch of different zombie types, some of the weapons, and I think that should be good enough. And I will say, just very quick here, I did enjoy playing this version. I thought it was fun. Like I said, I only played it for an hour, so if you guys actually want to see maybe a small video just dedicated to this Alpha 4 version, or if you want to see maybe me try to survive and build a base and a farm with different goals and objectives, like maybe a series, who knows, let me know in the comments down below. But without further ado, hope you guys did enjoy nonetheless. Maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button, that little bell, and I'll see y'all next time for another episode of Will It Retro. Bye, everybody.